Good evening and welcome to the school board meeting. Please rise if you're able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, welcome to the School Town of Speedway board meeting for September 14th, 2021. We are working from a 14-item agenda this evening. The first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of our last meeting from August 10, 2021.
I'll move that we pass the minutes from August 10th, 2021 meeting.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or corrections, comments for the minutes? All right then. All those in favor? Okay, then we'll do the signature process.
Minutes are signed.
Thank you very much. The second agenda item this evening is to discuss participation by the public at school board meetings.
Mr. President, I would like to move that the participation by the public at the school board meeting policy that we have prepared be adopted.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion about the policy.
Yeah, so thank you. I'd like to, this is a policy that was drafted because we, as the first line say, welcome public attendance at our monthly board meetings. And when we have been looking around and seeing public attending at other school districts' board meetings and seeing how sometimes that got out of hand, we wanted to make sure that we weren't deterring the public from coming to our meetings. And so one way that we felt that that could take place would be to have a specific policy in place that would govern exactly how we were to handle meetings. So we weren't, making decisions based on who was sitting there. We weren't making decisions based on whether we wanted to hear what people had to say or not. But there was a pre-existing policy that would apply across the board, no matter who came to talk to us at board meetings. And we thought that would be the most fair and equitable thing to do for the community. And so we started working on this. We had council review it. And now I think it's to the place where we're in really good shape with it. And basically, this encourages people to come and sets up a system that you would just sign in so that we would know and have a record of who was there, that you would indicate which agenda item you wish to speak to, that we would keep a time limit, so, and that, is for the courtesy of all involved, and so that, again, so things don't get out of control. So there's a set ahead of time. We're not letting people we like talk for a long time and shutting down people that we don't, but we're handling it across the board with everyone. And so I'm really in favor of, this being in place for us so that we're just treating everyone who comes to our meetings in the same way.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion or commentary about this possible policy? Hearing and seeing none. Then let us move on to the third item on the agenda, which is to approve.
Oh, are we not voting on the policy itself?
Well, that's what the third item is.
Yep, I see the way it's split up.
So let's move on to the, that's okay. Let's move on to the third item, agenda item, which is to approve this policy if there's no further discussion on it. So would all those in favor please signify? And that passes unanimously. Thank you. The fourth agenda item is to begin updating some policies for the school system with guidance from the Indiana School Board Association.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following three policies of non-discrimination policy notification statement, sexual harassment grievance procedure, and equal education opportunity has been given to us through the ISBA. Also has been reviewed by Council Michelle Cooper with Louis Kappas. And over the time of the ISBA, when they send out policies in the summertime, these are things that takes time to tweak and making sure that we're following the law on what they're asked to do. So my recommendation is to approve these three policies of the non-discrimination policy notification statement, sexual harassment grievance procedure, and equal education opportunity is my recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a motion from the board concerning these policies?
I'd like to move that we approve the updated ISBA policies as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or commentary about these three policies?
I would just, like to, again, similar sort of motivation, that these are areas in which we want to be sure to be operating by policy, not by in-the-moment gut reaction sort of things. These are things that would be, that are backed by law, that are pages long, that set out exact procedures, and I feel really good about having us up to the minute in compliance with how these, these areas of the law will be handled in our district.
Thank you. Is there any other comment, questions, discussion, or commentary? Hearing and seeing none, if all those in favor of adopting these three policies in their updated form would signify, that'd be appreciated. And that passes unanimously. The fifth item on the agenda this evening is to hear the 2021-22 Enrollment Report.
The enrollment at this time is 1,833 students. If you remember back when we first started, it was about 1,780. So we've increased about 50 students since the first day of school. One of the things that I did is remarkable is the balance of our elementary classes on this in our enrollment. We anticipate that going up a few students. This Friday is the ADM, Average Daily Membership date, Friday the 17th. So on that date is the date that the state will give us our funding for enrollment, along with a date that's going to take place in February. So 1833 is not what we anticipated, but it's pretty close to what we thought we could do to run a balanced budget. Any questions on the enrollment?
I don't have a question, just a comment. I'm amazed at how these are staying so balanced and low.
Yeah, we,
Even adding the 50 students, we're still keeping the,
knock on wood, it
Yeah,
could change
yeah.
tomorrow, but right
I know,
now, we're pretty
quite-
happy with the balance of what our classes are.
Mr. Disney, can you talk about the junior high enrollment?
Yeah, our junior high currently has 315 students in it. 315 students. I've been here for 20 years, 21 years, and that's the highest that we've ever been in the junior high school. There's a class that has 166 students currently. To my knowledge, that's the largest class we've had in the last 20 years. So we have a large class that's coming up. So it's doing well. Junior high is rolling. High school also is 542 students, and that too is one of the highest enrollments we've had at our high school. So, you know, and if you look at the sixth grade class coming up with 145 kids in that class, it's, you know, we're in for some rather large classes in the future, which is great.
I would assume that while we are most focused on the really small class sizes at the elementary levels, that we also pay attention to what 165 kids in a class does to class sizes at the junior high and high school level?
Yes, it's a little bit harder to, at those levels, just, I can speak about the junior high, I've got a little knowledge of that one. That when those grow like that, it's not like you can split a class like at the elementary level and just divide the class in half. Mr. Roseborough, Mr. Grove do a very good job of balancing those classes, making sure that they are as balanced as they can be. I can tell you, though, that there's some of those that are, especially some of the higher level courses, and they always have been, close to 29 or 30 students in them, but those are the Algebra 1 students, the Spanish 1 students, those students that are on more of a accelerated track. And it's been that way since, even when those class sizes weren't quite as large.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for that update. The sixth item on the agenda this evening is an update concerning COVID-19 protocols.
We developed protocols at the beginning of the year, knowing full well that those were going to change. Matter of fact, we said on our protocols that these are subject to change. Our protocols have always been a guidance from the Marion County Health Department, who gets their guidance from the Indiana State Department of Health, who gets their guidance from the Center for Disease Control. During these protocols, we have gone with masks are recommended to be worn in school up till last week, when the governor came out with his executive order about mask, and that changed the close contact. What this did was change the way that we had to consider close contacts. Prior to his executive order, if a student was in close contact with another student, and one of those students became positive, they were considered a close 6 feet for 15 minutes, that one of those students would have to go home because they were considered a close contact. We were sending large number of students home that were students that weren't ill. Numbers would be that we start off with 4 students that first week. We've gone up as much as 9 or 10. And I want to make sure you understand that we have 9 or 10 human beings. This is adults, students that have tested positive at one time in our corporation. There's many corporations near us that have 9 or 10 students in one classroom. We've been very lucky, or maybe we're doing things right, because we have 9 in the corporation. It's been as low as 4 or 5. We have had students that have had to stay home because they were considered a close contact, and we had an average of about 25 to 30 students that were sent home because they were deemed a close contact. We had been as much as 52 students at one time had to stay home because they were considered a close contact. Today, we have 9 students in our corporation, or 9 people in our corporation that are positive with COVID. We have 0 people that are quarantined because they were in close contact with someone here at school. 0. Now, we do have 9 people that are quarantined, but they're quarantined due to a close contact outside of school. So having our students and our staff wear a mask is not the most pleasant thing in the world, but it's keeping well students in schools. I think we're managing it very well. When I tell my colleagues in Marion County that we have 9, and when we get on a Zoom meetings with Dr. Kane every week, and they just can't believe that we only have 9 people in our corporation. So our protocols have changed to require students and staff to wear masks to school at this time. So my recommendation would be that we approve the protocols that we have listed in your packet.
Which I think we can do by consensus.
Yeah, I think we can.
Yeah, we don't have to,
Yeah. And the only thing, I think that, again, this all kind of fits together. We have a bit of a theme going here tonight. And, we know that this has been a super hot topic in other districts. And we're just really glad that it seems that our community is trusting our people here to make decisions, and that, as Mr. Disney said, keeping well students in school is what we're all about. And we have differing viewpoints on wearing masks and not wearing masks right here on this board, but that isn't what it's about. It's about keeping kids in school. And we're being able to do that unlike anybody else. And so, thanks to the community for working with us in that regard.
Yes, thank you. Yep. Any other comments? All right. The 7th item on the agenda this evening is to approve a school safety grant and the architect.
Keeping kids in school and keeping them safe is kind of our game, and we're pretty good at it. Well, we're going to continue trying to be very good at that. And I'm happy to report that the Indiana Department of Homeland Security has awarded Speedway schools with $100,000 for the 2022 Secured School Safety Grant. I've been a part of this in this corporation, the last one, for many years. Usually you get about $50,000. We went out and tried to up that, and $100,000, and I'm very happy that we got approved for that. Make no mistake, we've been awarded this before with Allison and Wheeler when we put in security doors at $50,000. It is a match, but we've been awarded this before, and we got it again for this year. So through our operations fund and capital asset plan that was already been approved, our plan was to move forward to enhance and expand our security for the front entry area at the Speedway High School. Now with this money, we can use that to pay basically, I'm usually pretty close, about a third of it will be used from the safety grant. So really excited about that. So my recommendation is to accept this money, accept the grant with the plan and our architect, Lancer and Beebe, who we use with Newbie, to move forward with this project.
Is there a motion from the board? Yes?
I'll move that we approve the school safety grant, and Lancer and Beebe is our architect for that project.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion on the topic?
I feel like I should say something since I'm, talking nonstop tonight, but I think I don't have anything to say. So, this is great.
Thanks for
Yeah.
the efforts of putting the grant together and getting this for us. This is awesome.
Grants are fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and we appreciate it.
All right, so if there's no more discussion, then if those in favor of accepting the grant and approving of Lancer and Beebe as architect would signify. And that passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the 8th, and it's to approve an agreement for deaf and hard of hearing services.
This is almost a routine matter here, but the recommendation is to approve this agreement with Avon Community School Corporation for the deaf, hard of hearing services for the 21-22 school year. Again, this is the third year in agreement with Avon.
And this works well for us?
Works well, yes.
Good.
I'll make a motion to
Yes.
approve the agreement for the deaf and hard of hearing services with Avon.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing, yes?
I have one. Curiosity, how many students are we talking about that go through Avon?
Well, Andrea McIntosh runs point on this, and typically we have one or two that go through this process, but we've also, depending on where we're at on some situations, we send students to a specialty school for deaf and hard of hearing.
Right.
So it's one of those deals. They walk in our doors and they have the IEPs or if the services, we comply with that, and then we're happy to do that. So.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, would all those in favor of renewing this agreement with Avon Community School Corporation for deaf and hard of hearing services, please signify. And that passes unanimously. The 9th item on the agenda this evening is to renew the property damage and professional liability insurance coverage.
In the past, I'll start with that, we have had outstanding history claims. We've used Liberty Mutual for many, many years, and by far it's one of the best around and from our side standpoint. Unfortunately, we have had a very eventful year with some liability insurance, from cyber loss 2 years ago to increased workman's comp and other such. But I'm proud to say that Jason Rich, the VP of NFP, who we use, thought we would come in around 15 to 20% increase. And just recently, I think it was a day or so ago, we found out that they came in, because I guess we're just great customers, at 5.5 increase. So the increase for the liability insurance is 5.5. I said this last year, I'll say it again this year. Hopefully we'll return to more of a normal 2 to 3% increase after we kind of clean some things out. So the recommendation is to approve renewal, property damage and professional liability insurance coverage.
Thank you. Yes?
I'd like to make a motion that we renew the property damage and professional liability insurance coverage.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there discussion or questions concerning this action item?
I would like to say our rating, again, was an A. As excellent. I wanted to put that in there. Thank you.
That's good. Okay. Hearing and seeing no other discussion or questions, then if all those in favor of renewing this insurance agreement would signify. And that passes unanimously. The 10th item on the agenda is to approve an appointment to the Speedway Public Library Board.
Mr. President, the recommendation is to appoint Scott Spear to the governing board of the Speedway Public Library. This is a 4-year term from 2021 to 2025.
Go ahead. Okay. I move that we appoint Scott Spear for a 4-year term on the Speedway Public Library Board.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item? All right, hearing and seeing none. If all those in favor would please signify. And that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. The 11th item on the agenda this evening is to acknowledge the grants received. And for this month, the corporation has received $71,638.62 in grants. The 12th item on the agenda is to approve the personnel report.
One of these days, the personnel report won't be 2 pages, I hope. But it's been a busy time. There's 11 items on this report. Resignations of Jake Byer, who is our head wrestling coach and had been head wrestling coach for 7 years. Jackson Harris is assistant swim coach. Nick Payton is a head wrestling coach at the junior high school. Brogan Butts, who's been a drama assistant at Speedway High School, Marvin Montgomery, who was a ninth grade baseball coach at Speedway High School, and Dolly Martinez, who was a custodian for us. On the employment side, Nick Payton is being moved to the head wrestling coach at Speedway High School. Penny Jarrett Gelhausen is being recommended for the cafeteria position. And David Becky is 8th grade girls basketball coach. Also, there's 2 volunteer coaches, Savannah Arvelo Stoller, who's volunteering with the high school varsity volleyball, and Jeremy Parker, who is volunteering with the high school varsity football. My recommendation is to approve the personnel report as presented.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve the personnel report as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or comment on the personnel report? Seeing and hearing none, if all those in favor of accepting the personnel report as presented would please signify. And it is accepted and passed unanimously. The 13th item on our agenda is to recognize our visitor and any other business that the superintendent would like to inform us of.
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Then we will adjourn our meeting to sign warrants. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.